Okay, hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of our Di2 stealth installation video. We're taking you up from having laid all the cables out in the first part of this video into all those little finishing touches that are going to really finish off all the detailing, make this super quiet, no vibrations, and hide all those cables away in the neatest way possible. So we're just at the point where we're putting some of the sound deadening into the frame. We use this Jaguar internal housing damper. It's a bit like pipe lagging, but just about 5mm internal, so it goes around the brake hoses. So a length of that has been put down, the entire length of the frame, actually all the way into the left chainstay as well. But we still have this problem with the Di2 cable potentially being able to rattle. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we want to stop that rattling. That's got to be deadened. Adds a little bit of weight. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have a quiet bike than those extra couple of grams. And what we've actually done this time is chosen to take a small jewellery file and actually file down another couple of millimetres groove so that we can run the Di2 and the brake cable through exactly the same aperture, which will again really help with that lovely clean stealth install that we're looking for. We've got the heat shrink on now, so when you buy this, make sure you're getting something that's wide enough to be able to get the 5mm brake hose through and the Di2 cable. I think this is about 12mm or so, but it's going to shrink down to less than 5. So we've put both of these through now. So when we shrink this, we need to make sure we hold it nice and straight so we get a nice crease-free shrink. So the technique for doing this is to try and keep everything as straight as possible, and don't be tempted to let it curl up as it cools. That's when you're going to get a crease in it. So just keep the cables nice and straight and let it cool down completely. If you ever see any smoke just coming off, just back that lighter away straight away. No need to incinerate it, we're just warming it up. There we go. That's pretty much that finished effect. Looks super neat, super clean. It's like one continuous cable. Let's get this hidden under the bar tape. Just routing that bit that we've just heat shrunk up under the handlebars. Just making sure that the gap between here and here on both sides is going to be equal. We've just taken to go a few millimeters to the side of the white logo in there. So secure that down with tape here. And now we're going to move on to the brake bleeding, which we're not going to cover in this video. It's a different section. And we're going to come back to you once the brakes are bled and we're about ready to finish off this cable routing and then do the bar taping. Okay, we're pretty much ready for putting bar tape on now, and I just wanted to show you how we've routed these cables. So we have our junction box in the end here, and that cable runs from there out that little hole at the bottom. Again, we just put some tape in there to hold it, and we want that cable to run at the front. And when you're doing this, be neat with it. You can see how we've laid the cables out nice and neat, because any overlapping cables, you're going to feel that underneath the bar tape. Look at how we finish this off now, then with the shrink wrap all nice and neatly in place. You see there's no wrinkles in that at all. And we've just got it finished off neatly so you can see no additional holes, and using one of those Jaguar frame savers just to weather protect it as it enters the frame there. And on the other side a completely clear blanking, so it looks super clean and super smooth. You should be pulling this fairly tight and making sure that the tape doesn't pick up any wrinkles. We're looking for a nicely smooth feeling. So let's get some bar tape on this and finish it off. Start our bar taping, gather your materials because you're going to be wanting to have all your tools to hand. We're going to need some of this 3M VHB tape, some standard electrical tape. I like the stuff that's a matte finish because it looks so much better when finishing these off. And you need some really good quality bar tape. We use this fabric knurl tape. It's really comfortable. It's also really easy to remove, but you can get a good stretch on it as well so you don't end up with loads of little creases, and it makes a really beautiful clean finished job. We start on the bottom and we'll tuck this up right up against our bar end. Okay, so we need to make this first wrap very tight. So put it towards the bike and lining that edge up with our bar end, concealing the tape and the join. See how hard I'm putting on that to get that lovely smooth transition. Maybe giving 15mm each wrap, because we want most of our tape to be used on the top of the bars where the rider's going to be spending most of the time. Okay, coming up to the hood area, this is how we're going to finish this off with a lovely figure of 8. So keeping that leading edge tight to the bar, from the outside, we pull up and around, covering that gap of the hood. Come back down, keeping this figure of 8 in, and then around the front, tuck in the bar tape up and out of the way, keeping that tension on, and then finish that. And you can see this gap here, this little lip. We're going to try and fill that lip with bar tape and try and smooth out that transition from bar to shifter as best we can. So on the top of the bar, we can go a little bit thicker if we need. So just reducing the size of the wrap means the overlap gives us a bit more padding. So what we're going to do is just continue wrapping the bar naturally and look for the bit where the tape intersects with that electrical tape underneath. And that's the bit where we're going to mark. Only needs to be a tiny, tiny little mark so that you can find it later. And continue your wrap as normal, keeping it exactly the same until that bar tape interacts with that little mark that you just made. Put another little mark in. Now, keeping that tension on your bars, unfurl it so you can see both of those 2 marks that you just made. And we're going to cut a diagonal line as neat as we can between those 2 marks. Get that line as neat as you possibly can. Okay, and 1 straight edge. So with your electrical tape, make sure you've got a neat end and continue with your electrical tape. Overlap it by just a millimetre or so. Pulling it super tight just means that it's just going to naturally wrap itself around that edge and cover up that edge of the bar tape. Don't need to put loads on, this is just to hold it in place. We've got a little finishing strip to put on top of this to neaten it all up. Try and keep those edges nice and neat, avoiding touching the end, and the end comes out of the way. The last step of our Di2 install is to deal with this hole and the seat post. So we've come to the workbench and we've taken the seat post out because I want to make sure that we've got the maximum cable length coming up here and none of these cables are going to get caught as we do this. So this is a BB386 Evo frame and we have this 2-piece bottom bracket that's just going to thread together. This section here is going to make sure all the cables have got no chance of interfering with the rotating axle. Have a look in here and pull down any cables, make sure that nothing is going to get caught, which is why I've taken the seat post out so I can pull this up. Add some masking tape if you need to, just to hold that cable out of the way. Let's just talk through what we've accomplished on this build. First off, cable from our rear mech into our little junction box, which we've hidden down here and held in place with our springy zip ties to keep it from rattling in this section here. From there, that little junction box feeds up to the battery, which we've hidden in the seat post, giving us loads of length to be able to remove the seat post easily and reinstall it if we need to take our seat post out, adjust height or fly and put it in a packing case. And the front mech here, and we've just come through the little hole and replaced the grommet in there with one that will take a Di2 cable, keeping that all weatherproof and nicely finished. Our long cable that runs up the down tube, we've drilled out our little blanking plate here so that we can run the brake hose and the Di2 through the same hole, and we finished that off nicely just by filing that with a little jeweler's file. Heat shrinking those 2 together, and that heat shrink goes right up underneath the bar and into that shifter, leaving lots of slack in the shifter so that our rider can maneuver those around without any fear of those connections popping out of the shifter. And from those shifters we run into a Y piece, and one of those ends of the Y piece runs down to our junction box, which we've hidden nice and neatly in the bottom of the left hand shifter, and this is also where the rider will charge and do their micro shift adjusters from. And from there we have our little Bluetooth module, which we've hidden just up here near the handlebar, so it's super close to your Garmin and anything else you want to control, so you're going to get a really good reception from that. That cable runs into our left hand shifter there, and in the future if we want to run sprint shifters, we've got that option of adding a sprint shifter from the lever onto the little shifter here, and on the right we'd run that cable from the junction box up to the sprint shifter as well, so plenty of options to upgrade in the future. The whole way through this, we're just trying to always be aware of reducing cable rattle, so there's extra cable length in the down tube. We've also insulated with that Jaguar cable housing that we showed you. So this frame really should be lovely, smooth and silent when you're out on the road. Right, we're pretty much done with this video now. Bottom bracket crank set to go in, quick easy job. We're waiting for some new zip wheels to arrive for this job to really finish this bike off, and then this bike's ready to hit the road. Thanks, see you in the next video.